Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Star Wars Meg, here to give you another Mandalorian Season 2 update. It's 28 days until Season 2 drops on Disney+, and I'm hyped, as I'm sure you are too. Before I get going with the news articles, guys, please may I ask you to like down below, to subscribe to my channel if you're new, and also please consider becoming a patron of mine on Patreon. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So before I get into the news articles, I just want to talk about a new poster that has dropped for The Mandalorian Season 2, and it keeps in line with this new blue theme. It's really cool, and we see Mando on a speeder bike with Baby Yoda in the back, and as always, Baby Yoda does look a lot older in this season compared to Season 1. So we start today's news with a very exciting piece of information, which is a rumour at this stage, that Luke Skywalker might make a cameo in Season 2. For all intents and purposes, the Skywalker saga is supposed to be finished. That was the big to-do about The Rise of Skywalker. It was supposed to wrap up a story that took 42 years to tell. And yet, the idea has sprung up that Luke Skywalker will reportedly rise again in The Mandalorian second season. Yes, Luke is supposed to be dead, but in the Mandalorian timeline, Luke Skywalker has not yet perished. So, would he appear? The reflexive answer would seem to be no, but the trailer for Season 2 of The Mandalorian suggests that this is the way, according to some Redditors. While fans were busy arguing over whether The Rise of Skywalker stuck the landing or not, most of them seemed to agree that The Mandalorian was a welcome breath of fresh air. Unlike the last two films of the Skywalker saga, clouds of negativity from the fandom did not cloud The Mandalorian, which seemed to please almost everyone, particularly when it came to the child. The most intense argument seemed to be whether it was right to call him Baby Yoda or not. So we have to ask the question, what is the evidence that Mark Hamill will reprise his role as Luke Skywalker? One of the major clues is that Mark Hamill already had a cameo in the first season. According to Deadline, in the 5th episode of the series, the Mandalorian goes into the canteen on Tatooine, where Luke and Obi-Wan met Han Solo. In that scene, the droid bartender has the voice of Hamill, whose other claim to fame is doing voice work for a multitude of projects, particularly the Joker in the Batman animated series. However, viewers have spotted clues in the trailer that they think hinted an appearance by Mark Hamill. Some have pointed out that the season is being presented as a hunt for the Jedi, and any hunt for the Jedi would certainly include its most famous member at the time in the Star Wars timeline. The trailer also shows what looks like an X-Wing fighter, the kind of craft that Luke flew. Certainly an X-Wing doesn't automatically mean Luke Skywalker, but inverse writes, would he hop in an X-Wing and chase down Mando to figure out the mystery of Baby Yoda? When you speculate it like that, it's almost weirder if Luke isn't involved with this season. So now in the article they ask, where did we leave off with Luke Skywalker in the timeline? Well, since The Mandalorian takes place shortly after the fall of the Empire, this means checking in with Luke after he laid Vader, his father, to rest. Those who only follow the movies know that by the time the sequel trilogy starts, Luke has gone into hiding after his failure with Ben Solo, who obviously became Kylo Ren and then reverted back in The Rise of Skywalker. So what happened to Luke in the time frame of The Mandalorian, which takes place long before Luke breaks? With OG Yoda gone, he is the proverbial last Jedi, so he's trying to gain as much knowledge as he can about the Order. Were he to cross paths with the child, that would certainly pique his interest. Although, that would also seem to warrant more than just a cameo, but I guess we'll find out on October 30th. I don't know about you, but it seems a bit far-fetched that we'll get Luke Skywalker in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. A lot of fans want so much fan service with Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Sabine Wren, and now Luke Skywalker, amongst other characters of course. I think that if we do get any kind of hint at him, it might be a voice or it might be a flashback. I don't think they're going to go fully fledged Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, and also, while it works for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, isn't at this point Luke supposed to be much younger than what Mark Hamill is now? And so how would they do that? Would they CGI parts of him? I'm not too sure. They could do what they did in The Rise of Skywalker, but I guess we'll just wait to see. I don't want to say too confidently one way or another, but in my opinion, it seems a little far-fetched. If anything, we'll just get a nod towards his existence, maybe even a voice cameo. Let us wait, it's just 28 days away. So now we move on to an article that really caught my attention for just being really quite interesting and entertaining. This one is called The Mandalorian. This Baby Yoda theory is so outlandish that we hope it's true. Although The Mandalorian's creators insist the child isn't Yoda himself, One theory claims that he very well could be based on the world between worlds from Rebels. Last year, The Mandalorian introduced audiences to the child, a 50-year-old infant who is the same species as Yoda. Since Yoda's species has never been named and the child himself has yet to be named officially, fans began referring to him as Baby Yoda. The show's creators have not embraced the nickname because it suggests that the child is an infant of Yoda, which they insist is not the case. Regardless of what they say, one theory posted by Reddit user Puka Films suggests that the child is the same Yoda that fans know and love. According to the theory, The Mandalorian could end with Din Djarin and the child going to the world between worlds, a realm that exists outside of time and space. From there, they would travel to the past, where Din Djarin could return the child to his people, the Jedi. After completing his mission, Din could become one of the first Mandalorians, or he could later establish peace between the Jedi and the Mandalorians. This would explain why the two were absent during the events of the most recent Star Wars trilogy. There have indeed been instances of time travel in Star Wars Legends, but the only instance in the official canon occurred in Star Wars Rebels Season 4 when Ezra Bridger enters the world between worlds. While there, he's able to pull Ahsoka Tano into the realm from a duel that he witnesses a few years prior. The two later return to their respective timelines, but the realm outside of time still exists, as does time travel. Since Ahsoka is set to appear in The Mandalorian Season 2, she could lead Din Djarin and the child to the world between worlds. Although the theory isn't impossible, it doesn't seem likely to become canon. The Mandalorian has thrived as a standalone show, staying loosely connected to the greater Star Wars universe. Having the child turn out to be Yoda would tie it more directly to the films, potentially disrupting the show's independent storyline and upsetting fans in doing so. While fans expect the overall plot to ramp up in the subsequent seasons, the show is still fairly grounded compared to other parts of the universe. A time travel plot might just be too out there for The Mandalorian. Furthermore, Din Djarin only learned about the existence of the Jedi at the end of Season 1. After hearing that the Mandalorians fought with him in the past, he isn't excited at the possibility of handing the child over to potential enemies, or as he calls them, sorcerers. If he's going to travel back in time to give the child to the Jedi, he's going to need to go through something drastic to change his opinion about them first. Moreover, if the show does play out as this theory predicts, audiences would have to see Din Djarin and the child go their separate ways. Yoda's species is very long-lived, with Yoda himself living to be 900 years old and dying in Return of the Jedi, so the child will probably outlive Din Djarin. Nevertheless, fans aren't eager to see the clan of two split up at any time. Story aside, introducing time travel can be messy for any franchise. It opens up many possibilities, but if the rules are not firmly established and adhered to, it can also lead to plot holes, paradoxes, and more confusion. Even though the world between worlds is established in Rebels, The Mandalorian's audience may not be as familiar with the animated show and would have to be introduced to the concept from step 1. You know, as far as CBR articles go about theories about The Mandalorian Season 2, this one has probably got to be one of my favourites, not because of the theory itself, but the way that they handle it. They really expertly and maturely deal with the fact that this is an unlikely hypothesis, but it's one that could potentially crop up. I do also like the fact that they mention that not all fans are aware of it. There seems to be a lot of toxicity in the Star Wars fandom community about, you know, if you haven't seen Rebels, you're not a true fan. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you're not a true fan. If you haven't read Legends, you're not a true fan. If you don't know much about the expanded universe and comics, you're not a true fan. This is all bullshit, okay? You can be a Star Wars fan and just have seen the Skywalker saga. I'm someone who has seen Rebels, so I have been introduced to this concept of time travel in the world between worlds, but if you haven't, there's nothing wrong with that. And I do think it takes a risk by isolating some fans who haven't seen the animated shows. You see, I have a lot of OG Star Wars fans on my channel, you know, people who grew up watching the original trilogy, and perhaps it wasn't their cup of tea to watch the animated shows. I mean, obviously I'm not speaking for everyone. Some people I'm sure absolutely love the animated shows and are OG fans or prequels fans or whatever, but it is important that The Mandalorian handles Star Wars and expanding the Star Wars universe in a way that everyone can relate to it. They cannot and should not include concepts which only very niche fans know about or are aware of. I think it was the same thing with The Rise of Skywalker. The idea of Palpatine being a clone, even though that was something that George Lucas had planned and it was in Legends and there was a whole backstory to that, they handled it in a way that was appropriate. So if they are going to include time travel, the world between worlds, and perhaps Baby Yoda could be Yoda himself, they can't make it too messy and too deep because that will isolate fans who haven't heard of the concept before. They'll have to deal with it in a way that everyone can watch and go, oh, okay, I see what's going on here, I understand what's happening. But as for the credibility of the theory itself, I'm afraid this one I cannot comment on, because a big part of me wants to say it's absolute BS, but there's another part of me that says this could be a very clever thing that they could do. After season 1 and hints dropped by Lucasfilm, I think it's pretty clear they're not going to go the Baby Yoda is a clone route, and this was a theory I had purported for a very long time and something I held on to. But now that we know he's probably not a clone, I really am trying to figure out many hypotheses as to who he is. How does he play into the whole Star Wars story? Why did they choose a Yoda species to be a baby? And this could be possibly a great way they could do it, but they would have to handle it appropriately. But either way, I'm not going to say if I believe in this or not. I'm open to the possibility, and I'm open to many other possibilities of the identity of the child. Now, before I go, I just wanted to mention one last thing, and this is about the second TV spot that we got about a week ago, and I didn't really comment on it because there wasn't too much to say, but we did get an extra couple of seconds of Baby Yoda and his egg in the trailer. Pretty exciting, but like I say, I don't have too much else to say on it. Hopefully we'll get another trailer or TV spot in the next week, but if not, we have a lot to be hyped about for season 2. So that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and please consider contributing to this channel by becoming a patron. The link is in the description. I will see you tomorrow. I'm Star Wars Meg, and I wish you a fantastic rest of the day, no matter where you are in the galaxy. Have a good one.